Hello children, welcome back to another new session of Social Studies digital class. Children, today in this session we are going to start a new lesson, that is chapter 16, the election process in India. Children, in the previous classes you have studied about different forms of governments or even different forms of ruling. Under colonialism, a country was ruled by another country, and there were different kinds of ruling, like there was monarchy. Mono means single ruling, either by king or queen. And in that way, oligarchy. Oligarchy means a society was ruled by few people, mostly by rich people, wealthy people. And even there was aristocracy. What is aristocracy, children? Aristocracy means a society which was ruled by an upper class, a higher class, that is nobility. So children, later in the beginning of the 20th century, a new form of government started, that is democracy. Children, people suffered a lot under these different forms of governments, fed up, and we have seen in previous classes that they have rebelled or revolt against the rulers for a better governance. In the 20th century, a new form of government became popular, that is democracy. What is democracy, children? It is people's power. So, in democracy, the society was ruled by people themselves or the representatives elected for the people. So, in this chapter we are going to study about the election. Children, in this session you will be able to understand why elections are necessary in the democracy, and you will be able to analyze the importance of right to vote, and you will be responding to the necessity of model code of conduct in a democracy, and you will be able to prepare a pamphlet creating awareness about the importance of voting. So, in this chapter, children, while learning, we will understand what are elections, why elections are conducted, and who conducts the elections, and how the elections were conducted, and when it is to be conducted. Children, India is the largest democratic country and with a huge population. Our India stands in the second place of population. Yes, in such a big country, it is not possible to all the people to gather in one place and take the decisions. So, it requires a system to govern the people. So, this task is done by Election Commission of India. So, in India, the Election Commission of India conducts elections in the country, and it frames some code of conduct to the political parties. Code of conduct means the rules and regulations or the guidelines given to the political parties. And it also declares the results of the elections and submits to the concerned government. And Election Commission of India came into existence on 25th January 1950. So, the first general elections were held in India in 1952. So, after its formation in 2010, Election Commission has completed 60 years celebrating Diamond Jubilee. On this occasion, central government announced 25th January 2011 as the first Voters Day. National Voters Day is celebrated every year on the 25th January and is dedicated to the voters of India. This National Voters Day is a unique exercise for promoting electoral participation. In this activity, the employees within an organization will assemble together and take the voters' pledge on National Voters Day. So, children, on this National Voters Day, it is a very important announcement given by the central government that every year on 25th January we celebrate National Voters Day. So, in order to encourage more number of young voters into the political system, this day is observed as National Voters Day. Why it is celebrated this day? Because of the formation of Election Commission in 1950. Now, let us see what is the Voters Pledge. Children, here is the Voters Pledge. See, we the citizens of India, having abiding faith in democracy, hereby pledge to uphold the democratic traditions of our country and the dignity of fair and free peaceful elections, and to vote in every elections fearlessly and without being influenced by considerations of religion, race, caste, community, language or any inducement. So, on this National Voters Day on 25th January, in all the organizations or institutions, like even educational institutions like schools and colleges, all will take the Voters Pledge. So, the Election Commission with its authority, it conducts elections for Lok Sabha, Rajya Sabha, state legislative bodies and the President and the Vice President. This Election Commission has an autonomous status. Children, autonomous means free. That means this commission is free from anyone else. They need not to answerable to anyone. It is not controlled by anything else. So, Election Commission has an autonomous status. The Central Election Commission has no separate staff to conduct the elections. It utilizes the central and state government employees to discharge the duties during the elections. Children, you might be noticed that during elections your teachers are busy with election duties. That means Election Commission takes the employees of the government to discharge the duties of the elections. And the Chief Election Commissioner. The Chief Election Commissioner is the head of the Election Commission in India. There were many changes took place in this regard, but the present system is from 1993. The Commission has one Chief Election Commissioner and 2 Election Commissioners. Election Commission has a very important role in India, especially during the term of T.N. Session. During his term, he took much initiation for the eradication of corruption in the elections of India, and Election Commission gained nationwide recognition in his period. So, let us see what are the important recommendations made by Shri T.N. Session. Recommendations of T.N. Session: 14 days time limit for campaigning. One candidate should not contest from 2 constituencies at a time. If the contesting candidate expires, that means if he dies, the election shall be postponed but not to be abolished. And after completion of campaign time, sale of liquor shall be banned for 48 hours. So, in this regard, Election Commission has a very important role while conducting the elections in the country. Now, let us see some of the important functions of the Election Commission. There are administrative functions such as prepares the electoral rolls, demarcation of constituencies. Demarcation means setting boundaries for the constituencies, and it also announces schedule, that means timetable for the elections, gives recognition to political parties and also allots the symbols. Secondly, advisory functions. Advisory means giving advice. So, Election Commission advises the President and even the governors of the states whenever it is required. Thirdly, quasi-judicial functions. It means Election Commission even solves the disputes between the political parties, if anything are there. So, children, this is all the important functions of the Election Commission. Now, let us see who will vote in the elections. Initially, the Constitution of India declared 21 years as a voting age. But in 1988, 61st Amendment was passed. Children, what is the meaning of amendment? If anything to be changed in the Constitution, that can be done through amendment. Yes? Okay. So, 61st Amendment was passed. This was reduced to 18 years of age. That means, the present eligible age for giving vote in the elections is 18 years now. Now, the right to vote without any discrimination is called universal adult franchise. So, what is universal adult franchise? If anyone attained 18 years of age, they have the right to vote without any discrimination of language, race, religion or region. So, the body of voters is called as an electorate. Now, let us see the political parties in elections. Children, a political party is formed when it has a written code of conduct and registers at the election commission. Code of conduct means nothing but some guidelines or the rules and regulations prescribed by the Election Commission of India. So, all the candidates who are contesting in the election must abide this code of conduct. So, children, let us see now there are different political parties. There are some regional parties and there are some national parties. Political parties in elections. So, in a state, if a party wins 3% of valid votes or 3 assembly seats, it is declared as a regional party. And if a party is recognized in 4 states with 6% of valid votes or 11 Lok Sabha MP seats from 4 different states, it is called a national party. So, children, now let us see what are the different code of conduct. That means different points relating to guidelines prescribed by the Election Commission of India. The contesting candidates and the political parties shall not make any statements pertaining to caste, creed, religion or regional while criticizing other parties. That means the political parties should not make any statements like hurting other political parties. And no personal comments shall be made that are not relevant to political life. So, the political parties must not comment personally on any individual. And no political announcements targeting a caste or a religion shall be made. So, they should not make any announcements particularly relating to any caste or religion. Fourthly, in places such as churches, mosques, temples or other holy places and even in educational institutions like schools and colleges, no candidate should canvass or campaign. So, election campaign should not be in these places. Fifthly, no candidate shall influence the voters either by giving cash or any articles. And no voter shall be used to cast his or her vote in others' identity. That means no one should vote others' vote. Everyone must avail their own vote. Seventhly, no campaigning within 100 meters on the day of polling. Next, there should be no campaigning after or before the permitted hours. The Election Commission has prescribed specific time period for campaigning. So, the political parties must not exceed before or after that period. And no political party shall either get voters to the polling station or dropping them from the polling station. And even everyone has a right to lead a peaceful life. Taking out rallies in the residential areas and picketing is against the rules. That means the campaigning should not be in the midst of the residential areas, disturbing to the people. Hosting party flags, tying banners and writing on the walls, pasting posters on the houses are not allowed without permission. See children, in this slide you can observe the conducting rallies and public gatherings. So, children, till now we have seen different guidelines to be followed by the contesting candidates or the political parties. Now, let us see on the day of polling what are the guidelines or the rules to be followed. On the day of polling, the polling personnel shall make, personnel means here the polling staff, officials shall make all the arrangements to the voters to cast their vote in a democratic and peaceful atmosphere, and the leaders of all political parties shall cooperate the polling staff to discharge their duties, and the polling agents sitting in the polling booths shall be issued identity cards. The names of the party symbol shall not be on these cards. Next, the campaigning should end before 48 hours of the polling day. SMS also prohibited, alcohol shall not be distributed, and neither the contesting candidate nor the supporters shall gather in a large number near the polling booths, and there shall not be any posters, flags or symbols and election material in the camps. Any kind of food shall not be kept in the camps. So, all these rules and regulations must be followed by the contestants and also the political parties. Children, now let us see some important court judgments relating to the elections. In 2013, in the case of Dr. 𝗧𝗦𝗔𝗧 𝗚𝗧, the Supreme Court stated that the voting machine shall allow the voter to verify their vote was cast correctly. So, for this regard, the voter verified paper audit trail, in short it is known as VVPAT, shall enable the notes to get the feedback to whom he or she has cast vote. Children, look at the slide. Here is a picture of VVPAT. In the center it is there. So, VVPAT, what is the need of VVPAT? So, if a voter gives a vote, he can check in the VVPAT whether the vote he has cast for the party is correctly printed or not. Another important judgment relating to elections, that in 2013 only, in the case of People's Union of Civil Liberties, civil liberties means the basic amenities of the people. The Supreme Court stated that the voter has the liberty to cast his or her vote against all the contesting candidates. To implement this judgment, the Election Commission of India has inserted nota. You can see, children, in the EVM, electronic voting machine, the last option after all the political parties, finally there is an option of nota. Nota means none of the above. In short, it is known as nota. If the voter is not interested to cast his vote for any political party in the above, he can opt for nota. Another one important judgment given by Supreme Court in the same year 2013 was that the contesting candidates, either parliament as to the state legislature bodies, shall compulsory declare the details regarding his or crime report, spouse, children, assets, liabilities and educational qualifications. This is very important judgment given by Supreme Court. Children, the person who is interested to contest in the elections, they must reveal all the details of him or her. So, this is very important judgment given by Supreme Court, that all the contesting candidates must reveal their details in detail. Children, till now we have seen different rules and regulations about the elections, and we have seen on the day of polling. Now, let us see what is the role of ruling party at that time, the guidelines to be followed. The ruling party at the time of elections. The ruling party leader shall not misuse the power. That means they should not use bureaucracy. Bureaucracy means government officials for the party related works, and their official visit and party related visits shall not be mingled. They should be separate. And they should not use government vehicles for campaigning. And if more than 3 security vehicles are used in campaigning, it should be shown in poll expenditure. The moment the election schedule is issued, the election expenditure will come into force. Let us see the other guidelines. The public properties like government buildings, offices, places shall not be used for campaigning, and no advertisements of the government schemes in print media or even in electronic media. And before giving announcements on TV, shall obtain permission of the Election Commission. And after the election notification is issued, the ruling government shall not release any grants, make payments or issue new schemes. Children, now let us see the various levels of conducting the elections. The Chief Electoral Officer at the state level, the Election Commission of India. He or she is appointed by the Election Commission of India after consulting the state government concerned. At the district level, the district collector acts as the chief election officer, conducting the elections at various levels. Till now we have seen conducting the election, the main persons who are conducting the elections. Now let us see the procedure of conducting the elections. Conduct and monitor elections in every constituency. An officer is appointed known as the returning officer, and the candidates submit their nomination papers to this returning officer. And if a candidate is sponsored by a registered party, he or she is called as a party candidate. The others are known as independent candidates. And the returning officer scrutinizes, that means examines the nominations and announces the eligible contesting candidate list. The final list will be announced. Later, the returning officer shall declare the final list of that constituency. Then all the names of the candidates and the symbols of the contesting candidates are entered into EVM, electronic voting machine. Voting mechanism. The chief election officers make elaborate arrangements to conduct the polls election, and the polling personnel, that is polling staff, as the presiding officer and polling officers to every polling booth. Then the election commission appoints even observers to monitor the polls on the polling day. Then the polling agents who assist the polling staff to identify the voters who are appointed by the contesting candidates. An indelible ink is applied to the left forefinger before the cast their vote. And if EVM, electronic voting machine, is not there, swastik mark shall be applied on the ballot paper, folded in the proper manner and put in the ballot box. Then EVMs or the ballot boxes are sealed and brought to the counting centers. Then counting of the votes takes place at the counting centers. The candidates who secures highest number of votes is declared as elected. See children, in this voting mechanism, previously the swastik mark stamp was used to be stamped on the ballot paper, and you can see the picture of EVM, electronic voting machine, and the ballot papers will be dropped in the ballot box. But recently the new system of electronic voting machine with the VVPAT is displayed. Children, you can see the main polling personnel or the polling staff in this picture. The main person is presiding officer, who is assisted by polling officers and polling agents, and here is a voting machine. Children, now there are different kinds of elections also. Now let us see what are the different kinds. First, general elections. These are conducted for every 5 years at national level and state level. Midterm elections. These are conducted before completion of 5 years of tenure, if the elections are held for either assemblies or parliament. Now, third one is by-elections. The elections are conducted for one or more vacancies separately, then by-elections are conducted. Children, we have learnt about nota, none of the above. Now, let us see. This was first introduced an option in the state assembly elections of Delhi, Mizoram, Rajasthan, Madhya Pradesh and Chhattisgarh in the year 2013. And Supreme Court has stated that nota is a part of freedom of expression. Yes, if the voter is not interested to give his vote to any political party, without cancelling his vote, he can use this option. So, he can give his vote, but not to any political party, he can give his vote to nota. Next, postal ballot. Children, let us see now what is a postal ballot. Ballot by post. The election commission facilitated with postal ballot, that means those who are deputed for election duties, they can utilize this right to vote before the commencement of the polling date with ballot paper. So, in this way a form will be there, form 13A, that will be filled by the employee and then it will be posted. So, children, till now we have discussed about the election process in India, but till now this is very important issue or the task conducted in India, but it requires more reforms. Reforms means changes. Let us see some of the important reforms. There is a need for the electoral reforms. Every political party promises to give good governance, socio-economic equality and the eradication of poverty. So, children, the voters must utilize their vote, right to vote. Sometimes what happens, if they are not interested in voting, they simply sit at home, make it as a holiday. So, that is not a correct thing. So, they misuse that use. So, that what happens, a person, if they want a good leader to be governed, then they need to use their right to vote. Even in order to eradicate corruption, it is a better way to vote. So, children, here is an activity that to prepare a report on the election process in India, and here are some important questions. How can you say that right to vote plays a key role in democracy? In this chapter, we came to know that right to vote has an important role in democracy. The people's government, that means the people should elect their rulers. So, in that way, right to vote is very important. What is the necessity of model code of conduct in democracy? Children, we learnt about model code of conduct, that means different guidelines or the rules and regulations prescribed by election commission. So, what is the necessity of all these rules and regulations? And prepare a pamphlet creating awareness about the importance of voting. So, till now we have learnt about all these things. So, you can easily imagine and make a pamphlet for the awareness of the people about the importance of voting in the elections. So, for better understanding of the concepts, please solve the worksheets given for you and please visit the official site of SIET. So, children, with this we have completed this chapter. Let us meet with another lesson in the next session. Thank you, children.